And so the German plan. Now, the German General Falkenhayn, he believes that Germany's main enemy is the British, and so decides to knock out what he considers to be the British best sword, the French army. The plan is to attack at Verdun. Now, Verdun has a key significance for the French. It was a site of a rare victory in their last war with the Germans, the Franco-Prussian War. He knows that the French will fight to the very last man to hold Verdun. Yet Verdun is in a nightmare position because it's surrounded pretty much on three sides by the German army. And the German plan is to not capture Verdun. No. Break the French army at Verdun, suck more French troops into Verdun, up the road, and then bleed France white, chewing through French divisions. Now, Falkenhayn has no faith in a breakthrough battle. He's not trying to shatter the lines, he is trying to simply kill Frenchmen. Now, before the Somme attack can begin, the Germans attack the French at Verdun. And by the time the Somme battle begins, the Battle of Verdun is already in its 121st day. And France has suffered 500,000 casualties trying to hold on to Verdun. And there's no point lying, the French army is close to collapse. The scale of their losses so far have been horrific. Somehow in 1914, going to war wearing a bright blue shirt and bright red trousers, carrying flags and with bands playing, led to suspiciously high casualties. Who would have thought? But the French army is cracking up. And so the Somme now must be fought, not just to take part in the grand Allied offensive to help the Italians and the Russians, but to try and keep the French army in the war. The French are in real danger of being knocked out of the war at Verdun. And with French losses mounting, then it's now really impossible for the French army to take the lead in the Battle of the Somme. The British army will now have to take the lead. But remember, they were never meant to take the lead. The British army was meant to support the French while they complete their training. Now these half-trained pals are going to have to try and save France by attacking on the Somme. So the French were originally going to attack with 42 divisions on the Somme. Due to their losses at Verdun, these numbers are reduced, and now those 42 divisions have been reduced down to just 12. Worse, the heavy guns that were going to support the attack. The British Army are really short of heavy guns. They've got plenty of light artillery, but if you want to shatter trench lines, you need the big guns, the heavy guns to shatter these trench lines. And they've mostly been stripped away from this front to go and fight at Verdun. And so that the British Army actually started the war with very little heavy artillery. The heavy artillery they've got have been taken off from defending ports and the coastline of Britain. They're obsolete, mostly Boer War technology from the Second Anglo-Boer War, 1899 to 1902. So the British are desperately short of heavy guns, and so they're going to have to use light artillery to try and shatter the German defences to make up for the fact that the French heavy artillery that they were going to use to break the trench lines have now been sent away to Verdun. And so now there are a series of new aims for this offensive. Firstly, save the French at Verdun. Secondly, to tie up the German reserves. No one really believes that the British army can win the war on the Somme, but if they can tie up the Germans, suck German troops away from Verdun, hold them on the Somme, then a major Russian offensive will break through and win the war. And so the barrage begins to try and soften up and break this German line. Now, the British engineers and the artillery experts calculate that 4 days of bombardment would collapse the German dugouts and smash German defences. Now, General Haig disagrees. He says 4 days is not enough, and he increases this to 5 days. Now, to try and fool the Germans, every day saw an intensive 80-minute period of what they called hate, where every gun blasts away at the Germans as quickly as they can. On the last day of the bombardment, this will only last for 65 minutes. And so the hope is that this will give the British 15 precious minutes of an advantage and hopefully make them slow to retake the front lines. But as it happens, the weather after 5 days is terrible. And so the barrage is increased to 7 days, as the bad weather had grounded the aircraft the British were using to try and fly over the German lines and to assess the damage if the barrage had inflicted onto the German trench lines. Now, Because the PALs lack training, it was believed they'd only be able to handle simple tactics. So Haig does all he can to try and compensate for the lack of training. Now the massive barrage is part of this. Now Joffre, the French general, wanted the Somme to be a battle of attrition, with Britain and France bleeding each other white, much like is happening in Verdun with France and Germany, with both sides feeding men into the meat grinder. Now, Haig doesn't want to make this an attritional battle. He doesn't want this to be a case of men being sent out to chew bullets into no man's land. Now, he wants to break through the trench lines. He says that the British Army doesn't waste men, that it doesn't engage in attrition, and his plan is to try and seek to capture, or rather to break out, not to capture land for its own sake. He says that the land itself is largely worthless, but he wants to break throughout the trenches to fight a battle of manoeuvre across the rolling fields of the Somme. And so he's not interested in attrition. He's not interested in the land per se, but he is interested in being able to manoeuvre around German forces. And so we have here a quote, "Winning by 1 wicket is not to be a procedure favoured by a volunteer army. Lives must be spared." Now, in this bombardment, the British fire 1.5 million shells into the German lines, more than the British had fired throughout the entirety of 1914. And yet, the artillery had to cover a vast length of front and are critically short of heavy guns. The British only have 1 heavy gun for every 57 yards of front. The French army, who will be attacking in support of the British, have a heavy gun for every 36 yards. So the British 1 for every 57, the French 1 for every 36. And this British heavy artillery is the elderly 4.7-inch guns made in 1895 and the 6-inch guns made in 1896. And most of them are already pretty worn. These British heavy artillery, they're not only old, they're in terms of their design, they're pre-used and pre-worn from the Anglo-Boer War, which means that most of the heavy gun barrels, they've already had the rifling worn away on the inside of the barrels, and so you can't depend on them actually hitting the target. The shells aren't firing straight and often miss, not because of the skill of the gunners, which is often, by the way, still lacking because they are PALs, but with that aged equipment, it's not working like it should. Now, as the barrage goes on, trench raids were launched to check the state of the German defences, and spotting aircraft are sent over to try and check out the land. They plan a diversionary attack to the north at Gommecourt to try and draw away further German strength. And a debate is launched amongst the British officers about how close to the German front lines the British troops should be before they launch their attack. Now, if you're too far back, that'll give the German defenders time to try and recover from the barrage and then mow down the attackers. But if you allow the British infantry to get too close to the German lines before launching their attack, then the British infantry will be killed by their own artillery. Now, the debate rages between should you get up to 40 yards before starting the attack, or should you start at 100 yards away. Now, in the end, Haig decides to play safe. And he says he doesn't, with the wear on the guns and the lack of training for the gunners, he says that the British infantry should start their attack from 100 yards away. It's a fatal decision. But he does it because he's trying to spare lives. He's not a mindless butcher. He's playing safe and hoping that the barrage has done its job. Now, on the first day, when it goes so badly wrong, most British infantry units manage to cover 50 yards before the machine guns open up. The wrong decision had been made for the right reasons, but fatally the wrong decision. Now, to support this, they also dig 19 mines under the German front lines, and we'll discuss that in the next clip.